can't. What fan?
Amazing. Hey, yeah, I don't have any
Oh, I
fans.
think we just went live. I didn't. I didn't press the right
Oh
button
no.
to.
Oh no.
So
Well,
we're
you got
live.
fans. Hopefully, there's no one in the chat. We are live. Should we start with the news? Should we start memeing already, or
Sure.
should we
What's the news?
What's your favorite editor, Matt? Is it Vim or Emacs?
Oh, like code editor.
Code editor. It's like my favorite New York Times editor is Charles Schwab the Third. I don't know. I'm just making stuff.
Yeah. Book editor. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would say windsurf.
Would you?
I would.
Okay. I spent
And
the last 5
you
days
text.
with windsurf. I
Yeah.
have opinions.
Yeah.
But you know what doesn't matter is my opinion, because it looks like they are about to get purchased for $3 billion by OpenAI. Were you aware of this?
Well, we talked about it last week or
I
2
think it's
weeks
gone
ago.
through. I think it's
Oh,
gone
it's
through
okay. It's actually happening.
as of this morning. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I've never had a code editor crash as much as I've crashed windsurf. Period.
Really?
In like
See,
in 30
that
years.
is interesting.
In 30 years.
I've never seen it crash.
I've never also done as much work in a code editor as I've done this weekend. I think having done, I want to say 10,000 lines of code, like something. Just imagine, you know me. Imagine some astronomical amount of
Right.
code that I would just not do. I mean, one, I don't code JavaScript, and
Right.
I'm not coming out as a hater, but JavaScript is verbose. Let us say, in terms of lines of code that you change and packages that you add and dependencies and tests and environmental variables and it's a massive thing. Config files, at any rate, a lot of changes. And it looks like what I had issues with was when you have over 10,000 files in your Git commit history that are like left stage to change in that area.
Okay.
When you're looking at them, this is, I think, specifically what caused it to fail.
Okay.
All I was doing was editing a raw HTML site, but it had a couple things. It had a 3,000 line of code CSS file, which I think is normal-ish.
Okay.
I think it looks like
Okay.
Tailwind kind of gets around that size. And the other was a base 64 embedded image in one of the HTML files, which every model seemed to think. I think they thought, or I shouldn't say thought. I would assume that the guardrails that run the LLM would think that
Right.
base 64 is something that's probably considered associated with an attack. So it was quite difficult to handle. But I want to say it crashed at least 5 times, if not 6 or 7. It wasn't the end of the world. I was checkpointing with the to do after the first time it crashed. But you know, I don't think I've ever crashed Xcode. I've definitely not crashed Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code, but Visual Studio.
Depending on the plugins you add. Depending on the
Visual
plugins
Studio
you
Code.
add.
Right.
VS Code. Yep.
Hold up. Visual Studio, not VS Code.
Okay.
Just, I agree with you. However,
Yep.
I've definitely crashed VS Code with plugins.
Yep.
Like, totally agree. Microsoft has 2 plugins that don't agree with each other, and they're in the midst of changing them. I think it was like 2.5 years ago where it crashed a couple times. And I remember this stuff because the editors just don't crash.
Yeah, right.
But again, my opinion doesn't matter, because $3 billion is a lot of money.
And it sounds like maybe an edge case.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Come on.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people for whom they've given up on Datadog and they think it's the worst because it crashes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or that it's valued too high and it costs too much money.
Yeah.
Both of these opinions may have issues. I would agree. I've yet to see Datadog crash. I mean, I've certainly crashed the agent due to misconfigured YAML.
Yeah.
I've done
that. Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if I've crashed it. And I feel like that's like an indentation issue or some globbing thing where it's like reading the rest of the file and messing up as a result. I'm not sure if I've crashed.
And I don't think
I've crashed the website trying to do a demo.
A
yeah, exactly. I've certainly been on the website where like something is failing while trying to do a demo. I think we've discussed this before, which is why I record them now. But yeah, I got a lot of thoughts. I guess I'm trying to unpack here. But are we in the consolidation period of Gen AI tooling? It kind of feels like this is
no.
You don't think the vendors are going to start?
I think there's There's, I mean, we discover like two editors we'd never heard of last week.
I tried to install one just yesterday, in fact, called
Mm-hmm.
Tray, and it turns out as a
Uh-huh.
Canadian, I'm not allowed to use it, which is like just yet another indicator of like, if
Yeah,
listen, if I can't use your editor because of the country I reside in,
right.
we might have problems.
And if that country is Canada and
Canada,
not,
sorry.
I mean, maybe I could see Iran or
There,
or
listen, there are a whole list of
yeah,
countries whose
yeah,
names I won't list in case you get
right,
demonetized or whatever. But
sure,
like, yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I think we're pretty safe when it comes to coding.
yeah,
Are we not?
yeah.
Uh, the thing that
Weird.
got me interested in Tray, full disclosure, is I had just purchased 500 Windsurf credits, having just exhausted 500
Mm.
Windsurf credits, and I thought perhaps I'd go in and play with it. I think they've got free GPT 3. What was it?
Mm-hmm.
4.1. I think someone was saying in our chat last week. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, so I figured I'd try that out.
Mm-hmm.
No luck. I did try Grok for a little minute, and I
Mm-hmm.
gotta say I was not impressed at all. But
Yeah.
Sonnet 3.7 and Thinking and 3.5 to a lesser extent is
Yeah.
what I was using, and they're phenomenal.
Yeah, and with, I mean, with both of the editors, having every now and then you'll go through a lot of use, and I've definitely blown away the full amount of credits in like
Really?
a weekend or a week, and then you buy the extra batch, and I've actually bought two extra batches.
And do they roll over?
Um, they roll over.
Okay, good. Because I
The
did
extra
buy one. I
batches
had
do.
one. Yeah, I had one day
Yeah,
left, and I was like, okay, it's
yeah,
probably gonna be fine.
yeah.
Um, again, I gotta say, voting with your wallet kind of tells you, like, even though it's crashing, I was still using it. I bought more credits. I
Mm-hmm.
looked at other
Mm-hmm.
editors and tried Aider for a bit, but
Yeah,
Windsurf has a very powerful and scary YOLO mode. I'm saying YOLO mode here a little bit, but you can allow it to auto approve command lines that you
right,
whitelist or do
right.
all of them. I whitelisted a few.
Yeah.
The Netlify CLI is what I whitelisted first, and
Mm-hmm.
it was phenomenal. Having never worked with
Yeah.
Netlify before, one, the
And
CLI is great.
And
Like,
now that those tool calls and those running those things is free, right?
right.
So
It,
before you'd have to, for every one of those you had to pay.
oh,
I mean,
oh, I didn't know
like a
that.
credit went towards that,
Right.
and they just changed that in like 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Shoot, I should have talked about that because listen, YOLO mode is surprisingly great if you're just using it as like a doodle board. I was in the test
Yeah,
branch, that kind of thing.
yeah,
I leaked an API key, which is like, listen, cursor rules are there, memories are
yeah,
there. Sorry, Windsurf, sorry, Windsurf rules, which I know are deprecated, are there. I put it in there. I put in the memories twice. I put in the to do and the readme. Never
yeah.
leak keys. Never put them in files that
Right,
you're not and get ignored.
right.
Still did. Not the end of the world. They're Datadog API keys. I
Yeah.
knew. This is probably terrible security, but I knew that somebody's got my back, which is Datadog was going to go in and
Yeah,
send me an email as soon as they're leaked, which it did,
yeah,
and I was able to clear them up as soon as possible, which is fantastic. And it's my personal Sandbox account,
yeah,
but still, I was a little bit
yeah.
disappointed that they leaked, and as a result, like didn't want to use GitHub and other more serious services with it. Though, yeah, I did have one pull request surgery help out a little bit. I did that thing where like you're working on one computer and you've got unstable changes and you go to the other one and you work on the same branch because why not? But you
Right,
forgot that you didn't push
right.
and it becomes this whole thing. I literally told the model to take the files, put them in a separate folder, pull down and put them back in, which is what I would do. It tried to go through this
Mm-hmm.
whole git rebase
Yeah,
merge and like yeah that's awesome, but you
yeah.
are confused and it's been 15 minutes. Why don't we just try this?
Right.
Which I thought was pretty interesting. All this to say, I was very impressed. I got a lot of work done. I've learned
Yeah.
about Astro was what I was trying to learn at the time. I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot about Astro, and it's actually really impressive. As somebody
The
who's maybe more familiar with Gatsby and Hugo,
yeah,
I
right.
was quite impressed.
The first project I had where I like kind of fell in love with Windsurf was
Mm.
redoing my website in Astro.
Oh, there you go. So you know
So I
exactly
did it
what
3 months
one of it
ago,
is like.
and it was great.
Yeah, Astro is really simple, which is great.
So simple.
The construction of the projects enough that I can fit it in my
Yeah,
brain, and as a result, the
yeah,
LLM can as well. And
yeah,
and because of that, when you're making changes in general, the it's not a
yeah,
big context, which is nice.
yeah,
And in general, moving things around, as long as you're not dealing with massive
yeah.
CSS and base 64, is actually quite simple and
The
enjoyable. And like,
yeah,
yeah,
the collections, how they deal with
right.
collections is really
Hmm.
interesting, and like having one set of one collection for your blog posts, another one for your videos, another one for
Yeah.
other things. Going beyond that first or second one in
Right.
Gatsby, I remember really struggling with how
Oh,
do you
really? Okay.
do this before like in the first version of Gatsby, before, I mean, everything changed at some point, and yeah, it was just always challenging to remember, like, okay, what do I do here? How do I
Right.
add another thing? And I would restrict myself to, okay, let's stay simpler, because I know I can do more complicated things, but I just don't want to remember how to do it. But if I had a windsurf, 4 years ago,
Right.
I mean, that would have been amazing working with Gatsby. But yeah, Astro is just so
Mhm.
simple.
Agreed. And I
Yeah.
haven't even touched on islands, let alone
Oh yeah.
server islands, and a whole bunch of these amazing
Hmm.
features. But what really got me interested was, was it like, ¿por qué no los dos? Like, why not have both? Why not have static as well as dynamic at the
Hmm.
same time? Is what I was thinking. So I can have,
Yeah.
what is it, like the soft and crunchy taco at the same time. Sorry, I watched too much American TV, but it it feels like the best of both worlds, and it's
Yeah.
just enough JavaScript. Is it JSX that it's written in? The syntax is a little bit different than TypeScript that
Hmm.
I've been trying to learn, but it's not that bad. It's
Oh, I just
acceptable.
used it with TypeScript
Oh,
in Astro.
oh, fantastic. Okay, maybe
So
that's why I can do that.
yeah.
Okay, I was writing JSX, but
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's in V6, I think, or Vite. Do people say Vite or
Hmm.
Vite?
I don't
It should
remember
be
that
Vite. It's Vite.
being. I don't remember that being there.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's what it's bundle built with,
Hmm.
and then
Okay.
the tests are Vitests, which
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
started using. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't really do any what we call these unit tests.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of speaking under my breath, because like
Yeah.
I tested my code, but
Yeah.
what I used was Playwright or Puppeteer, which I was using as
Hmm.
an MCP, which was phenomenal. Like, hey, you just
Yeah.
push these chains, we think they work, let's verify
Right.
what
Right.
in trying to tell your model, trust but verify. Like, once you've done
Right.
something and you say you've
Yeah.
tested it, ensure that it's tested before you check it off your test list.
Yeah.
But all this
Cool.
to say, phenomenal. Congrats to the team. Obviously, I've
Yeah.
got the T-shirt. I'm definitely a big fan. I've purchased
Mhm.
some credits. I've used it for quite some
Yeah.
time. Was surprised it crashed a lot, but honestly, I think that's user error. It's like,
Yeah.
what does Apple say? It's like how you're holding it. Well, it felt like I was holding 10 phones instead of one, and holding 10
Mhm.
phones is difficult.
Yeah.
I don't think it's either on me or on Windsurf at
Yeah.
this point in time. It's just trying to do a lot. That being said, one of the things I'm not a big fan of VS Code in general is for larger projects. It's a little bit harder just to
Hmm.
navigate, move around when things are going. I had it hooked up to
Hmm.
Olama for a little bit, just playing around with that. And when the
Hmm.
computer is busy, as well at the same time,
Hmm.
it becomes a little bit difficult just to
Yep.
use software,
Yep.
unfortunately. So there's some of that rolled in
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, it was pretty fun. And congrats to the
Cool.
team. I think that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had other editors like Panic's editor. Panic
Oh,
software.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nova.
Nova, right. I did have that
Yeah.
for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an editor I want to love, and I
Well, the
kind of
design is
want to support
phenomenal.
them. I want to
Yeah.
support them. So I've had the license ever since since it came out, and then every now and then, every year the comes time to renew. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm going to use it a little bit more, and then I don't, because
Uh,
it's really pretty, especially if for when I'm doing video recording. It would be nice to be able to do it in Nova, because it just has a little bit more polish, and it's a little different, so people don't see that it's VS
yeah.
Code, and so therefore it can be kind of more generic.
Yeah, I think it's the only browser that I know of that has a Playdate simulator.
Okay, so it's got some weaknesses. Yeah, I mean,
But yeah,
it's
I,
gotta
I I
it's
feel
gotta
like I
show
should buy
that
one of those
waste
Playdates.
of
Yeah.
a. Oh my God, no! Do not
What's the
make
other
that
one?
mistake.
The Rabbit assistant as well. I'm kind of
Yeah,
interested in tech that's a
yeah,
little bit weird. Like, listen, I've got a T-shirt for Windsurf, who may no longer be a company soon, and I
yeah.
will cherish this as a result. It might be OpenAI's Windsurf or something like that instead
Wow,
of Codium.
let's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's vintage.
There was I'm about halfway through a video interview that the Windsurf guys, or I think just the founder,
Right.
did with Y Combinator, about an hour
Oh,
long
cool.
video. maybe in the last 5 days or so.
That's cool. I think the only thing in this area that I've seen is Lex Friedman interviewing the Cursor crew, which
Mm,
it's Lex Friedman,
yeah.
and the Cursor crew is quite young as well, which really
Mm,
surprised me. They look like they might be, I don't know, 21 to 25,
yeah.
but at any rate, quite young, and as a result have how do I say, some of those opinions that you and I
Yeah.
probably have when we were in our 20s as
Yeah.
well, in terms of software
Yeah. I mean,
engineering
it
and stuff like that.
it it feels like one of the things I noticed very early on was that Windsurf felt like it came from a more mature
Right,
development org.
right.
The way it's built, the way all the features work, it just
It's
felt like
cohesive.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It felt less bolted together last minute.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Would totally agree with that.
and yeah, but cool.
Uh, Other than that, I guess there's a little bit of questions I've got for you around
Oh yeah.
YOLO mode. So let's assume that we're all vibe coding, whatever.
All right.
Maybe just tab completion. I feel like
Hmm.
most people can
Hmm.
agree that tab completion is pretty good. Vibe coding's, it's probably here to stay, unfortunately, as a way to
Hmm.
spitball new ideas. Oh, we got a hi Matt in the chat. Oh, look at that. He's
Yeah.
he's on it. Matt's hot. I do though. I'm pretty ho hum, I guess, when it comes to YOLO or that whole approach to coding. To me, has been beaten
Yeah.
in as someone who took software engineering in university.
Hmm.
Human lives, et cetera, et cetera. Don't hurt
Hmm.
anybody. All these moral implications. So I finally did try it over the weekend, and I got to say things went pretty well.
Hmm.
But there are certainly some areas where this could be problematic. One of
Hmm.
the things that saved my bacon a few times was, how I think on Windows probably more than Mac. There's a lot of those cancel allow sort of things that come up about
Mm.
security, et cetera, et cetera. So when Windsurf is
Right.
trying to reach into your documents folder, and that's
Mm.
outside of the root that you're in, across a few folders and up, my immediate reaction was absolutely not. Thank you
Right.
very much. Why are you searching the root of
Right.
the file system as opposed to searching, or not the root, but the root of my user directory,
Right.
as opposed to the root of where I put you in? In fact, I put you
Right.
two levels in just so you wouldn't
Right.
go up one and you've gone up twice and looked around, kind of
Yeah.
thing. It will look for things like keys and config and images in other areas of your computer if you're not careful, which
Well,
is interesting.
if
Using
you
CLI, using CLI, it's
which
the
is
find
which is
command.
what is okay. Well, I found that it would. I mean, last time I was doing it,
Mm.
it observed anything that was in, if I had a .env file and that was in my git ignore, it did not look at it. And there's an option in the settings to say, don't look at anything in git ignore.
Yes. However, it will create new files and put info
Yes.
in those new files,
Right.
which not the end of the world, and not
Right.
add them to get ignored. It's a TFRs
Yeah.
file. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure you've been down this path of Terraform before. It's a common mistake. Don't just put
Yes.
stuff in TFRs. Use environmental variables
Hmm.
because you might commit them by mistake. It's
Right.
standard. We all know
Right.
this. I knew this going into this, which is why I put up the
Yep.
warning and said to use environmental variables. Totally fine.
Yeah.
I think what happened, and this is specific to images, because I was synchronizing two sites. Like, imagine a prod version and a test version.
Hmm.
Prod had an image, test did not, because we had a new episode that got released. And I told, hey, look at these two repos. There's an image missing. Figure out where it would be. And looked at the
Mm.
site. And I would assume, in my mind, as a human, I would download the image once I found it on the site. It
Hmm.
didn't do that. No harm, no foul. Instead, decided to do a find command in the repo. Again,
Mm.
totally fine. Did not find what it wanted, so it decided to go up a level and find again.
Right.
Did not find what it wanted and went up another
Right.
level into my documents and started spidering
Yeah.
around. Again, totally fine.
Yeah.
This is okay behavior, but
Right.
luckily in macOS it pops up a warning saying like, "Hey, this
Yeah.
app's trying to access your music." Does that sound right? Because your music's one of the first libraries and
Right.
documents. Like,
Right.
actually, no, that sounds a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Maybe Windsurf needs some tunes to
Yeah.
go properly. I don't know. It was interesting though because it popped up Apple Music, which of course wasn't
Right.
authorized on the computer. It
Right.
just because it grabbed the library and did
Yeah.
stuff there. It was enjoyable though. I got a lot of what can I say, like mileage, I guess, out of the web search that's based
Hmm.
in some of the models. as
Yep.
well as Windsurf having the web search tool that can do.
Right.
But on top of that, the built-in previews that it has now are phenomenal, like hands down
Built-in
fantastic.
previews of what?
They're just web previews. So imagine that you
Oh, yeah,
started
yeah,
up
yeah, yeah,
Astro, which is a
yeah.
4321. It'll open up a little
Right.
window that has like a web preview of it because
Right.
like, it's a web browser anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
again, sorry team, but like I listen. We all know it can display web tech, no problem. Brings up in the preview window, but what I really like is that little floaty thing that allows you to do selectors and say, hey,
Right.
the problem's right here. Let's
Ah,
inspect
yeah.
this
Okay.
DOM or this div or this image
Right.
tag,
Right.
and then look at the log. The log unfortunately rarely works, but look at the logs that you can see in the console and
Hmm.
correlate it with this and figure out what's going on.
Right.
And it was phenomenal. This, as again, as somebody who doesn't really know CSS very well, or at least not current CSS,
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
phenomenal
Yeah.
for me to figure out like, but like, did I overwrite properly? Is in the right
Yeah.
file? Did I load one before the other? That kind of thing. Those problems seem simple, but like I
Yeah.
understand variable inheritance. I have a hard time with CSS property inheritance, especially when you're 2 or 3 levels deep into this JSON kind of.
What do you mean the
It's nuts.
marquee tag isn't valid?
Oh yeah, is it Marquis the one that moves? Is it, or is it the one that blinks? I can't remember.
Yeah, I
Marquis
don't
is
remember.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 1990s.
Yeah.
All this to say, for visual comparison, I
Yeah.
found that the MCP tools of having Playwright as well as that
Yeah.
preview and then being able to do the DOM selection allowed me to do front end testing and visual inspection, which was a pipe dream, like stuff that I did in
Yeah.
ImageMagick basically in previous pipelines.
Yeah.
I would make sure ImageMagick was installed in the base OS with the runner, and
Yep.
then drag down 2 images. Like I think I was
Right.
using Phantom JS back in the day. I'm not sure if
Mhm.
that rings a
Mhm.
bell to you. And I would have it go up and take screenshots and then
Yep.
compare the
Yep.
screenshots to make sure they're
Yeah.
similar, if not identical, because it will give
Right.
you a score, like an image comparison
Yeah, because
score.
Phantom was like a replacement for something else that was
Oh yeah,
it
quite
like
slow.
Ghost?
Ghosty.
I mean Phantom I don't know. Ghosty is a terminal.
Oh, that's true. That's brand new. Not old.
I can't remember what it was.
Oh, this
But,
is
yeah.
Phantom JS was around for a while. Selenium is what I really didn't like at the time.
Right. Right.
Oh, there was WebDriver IO. Do you remember that? This is a long time ago.
No.
Selenium was
Yeah.
literally what I did not. I just didn't want to write
Right.
Java to write a test.
Yeah, and there was one that was
So bad.
like I would use it in AWS Lambda.
Okay.
And but the default image, container image, had like a full browser in it, and so it would be oversized for the for a standard serverless thing. And there were ways to get around that, but I can't remember what the piece. Phantom was the replacement, but I can't remember what it was. Yeah,
Phantom was pretty small. I think a lot of these seem to suffer with WebKit, which isn't such a concern for me, but I understand why WebKit might be a big deal. If you're pushing out an iOS app, for example, I think you probably have to suffer around WebKit. But it's pretty cool to be able to browse something headless, even in Puppeteer when it's loading the browser window outside, but within a tiny little frame to show you what it looks like for smaller devices. It's quite handy as you're coding, because Astro's got its own CSS, but learning other CSS libraries, Tailwind is what I was trying to learn, is quite complicated without being able to give you that visual feedback as you're coding. And there is a preview window, but if you've got other dynamic elements on the site, so Astra had a header and a footer, for example, it can be a little bit more difficult to test your code in isolation.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my weekend. It was super fun. I have no regrets. I might look a little bit worse for wear. I haven't slept very much, but it felt like Civilization. Just one more turn, like just one little tweak, and I'll get the code better. Or like one more test will guarantee that the next change it makes can't possibly fail my exhaustive test. And it's like, no, the LLM will always find ways to get around your tests.
I do miss weekends like that where I could devote so much time to learning one new thing. I mean, for me, I can't do that anymore because I mean, and I don't want to do it. It's not I just can't, but I don't want to because I mean, on Saturday I think it was Saturday was the my daughter's school May Day kind of event.
I haven't heard of that before.
And they do
May Day was a bad thing. No?
May Day, May 1st is
Mm,
they dance around the maypole and with a
interesting.
ribbon, and the ribbons kind of interlace and create these interesting patterns. And
Oh,
it's especially entertaining when you've got all these, 4, 5, and 6 year olds trying to make these patterns because they go wrong, and it's quite amusing.
okay. So
Um,
I think I am right, but you're also right. So it's Mayday
yes,
Parade, I think is what you're
Mayday,
referring to.
Mayday, Mayday. Yeah, is the your
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you
yeah.
would
There was a
say in
TV series
emergency,
in Canada that was
right?
all about airplane
Yes,
crashes, which I found
yes,
right away, and I was like, yeah, I thought so.
yeah,
Yeah, yes. So
but that's
Mayday
not that.
Parade, and they've
Yeah,
got like a people cross with the ribbon thing.
yep, yep. And so there's a
Oh,
Mayday pole in the middle of the schoolyard, and they do. That's one of the because she's at a Waldorf school. They do a lot of those types of activities.
right.
Yeah,
I hear you. Social kind of many
yeah.
people
I mean,
involved.
it would definitely
Team.
not go over well in a public school in the U.S.
What? Why
I
would
don't
that
think.
be? Too collective?
Yeah,
Too
maybe.
historical?
I think so. It's too. Um, I don't know why.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Um, People will get offended over everything.
Ah, yes. I mean,
Yeah,
also happens in
yeah,
Canada. Uh, unfortunately, just sort of random stuff.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm still on this soapbox. I guess I'll try to get off in a moment. But I also want to know which MCP servers you're using that work,
Hmm.
because in particular with documentation,
Well,
because one thing that I missed from Cursor that I
yes,
used all the time was like, I'm gonna add some docs, random docs, and this may
right,
or may not work. I'm gonna add some random docs and hope that
right,
it ingests them, and the hope that I
right.
can not read them. Which is, if anyone else is listening and trying to learn something, please read the docs. Is what I've learned
Right.
after this. But it is handy if you've read through them and you want to make sure that you can ground your
Well,
LLM
Windsurf
in the
has
docs.
docs as well,
It okay, it does. And listen, okay,
and
shots
but
fired straight up. Sentinels there, sorry, Sentries there, and Post Hog is there. There are some other monitoring companies not there that I was not happy about in
mm,
terms of
hmm
docs. Post
and
Hog,
if the docs, I think seem to remember if the docs are generated at view time, they don't show up. That you can't add them to Windsurf. So if
that makes
it's a
sense.
JavaScript thing that populates.
I
If it's
legit
all
couldn't find the spot
HTML,
to. Yeah,
yeah.
I legit couldn't find the spot to add the docs actually.
Hmm.
Whereas in Cursor, it's pretty obvious. And that could be user error. What would the prime tell us? It's skill issue. Maybe I need to
Yeah.
read those docs too. I
Yeah.
did go through the Windsurf docs and add the MCP docs and ask the wrong
Hmm.
question, and it made me an MCP for Datadog that was almost exhaustive.
Hmm.
I feel like it had 45 actions, like an action
Wow.
per SKU.
Right.
It blew my mind. Like,
Yeah.
look at my eyes. Like, this is frightening.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
You- and it worked.
yeah.
What? It's in there
That's
like
amazing. Yeah.
rewriting its own code
Right.
to be used later on in a prompt, which I thought was phenomenal. But
Right.
seriously, what are you using for docs in Windsurf? How are you adding them in?
I can't remember.
Okay,
I mean, I
here's
remember
what I
it
tried.
working, but I remember it working for some things and then not for others.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
and they will say, just send us what you're trying to get working, and we'll add it. But I never do, and
Oh,
and then
gotcha.
I forget.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah, I should do that. If you
I mean,
pointed
I
at,
noticed it with like
yeah,
NoCodeDB. If you look at NoCodeDB's first
yeah.
version, it was all in HTML, and their second version is generated. It can only see the first version, and so it tries to
Oh,
uh, correct it to that older API, which was annoying.
yeah, this is not great. The other thing I noticed is that Shad CN docs are in there, but it's also Shad
Mm,
CN UI, which is the problem that messes up Cursor.
right.
But because the docs are there, it works okay. Because a lot of times we'll try to
Mm,
use the old package name, maybe because it's wrong.
mm,
I was able to put in GitHub links to documentation. So if the docs are backed by GitHub, you can point at GitHub and it will slurp them up. Awesome.
right.
But we'll do it every time you add the URL. I
Mm,
wasn't able to get it to do it once. The
right.
other thing that was kind of a bit of a hack was to be able to paste in from the docs. Like, this is a way to do it,
Mm,
or to say, search the web, is this the right way to use this
right.
in 2025, which also worked really
Right.
well. What I guess what I was missing is in Cursor being able to add docs in, But again,
Hmm.
the command line, I don't want to call it YOLO, but assistance, at least the fact
Right.
that you've got a like another hand in the
Right.
CLI, it's kind of awesome. Scary,
Yeah.
but quite awesome in Windsurf. I would say it's a true differentiator. And as a
Yeah.
result, if you've got docs that are pulled down in GitHub, you can actually
Right.
search that folder in your command
Yeah.
line with grep and cat and a whole bunch of it's quite nice, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, zero complaints.
Well.
But what are you
Yeah.
using for
So,
docs? I need to know.
your first question was about MCP servers.
Right. So Context 7 was the one I was using. Sorry, I forgot to
Yes.
say that.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that what you're
So
using?
that's pretty cool. For docs, I think that was the one that I saw recommended. Yes.
Only one I could get working.
Yes.
Yeah.
But MCP in general. So
Mhm.
my latest video, which has not come out yet, but it will come
Okay.
out. I'll either
I've
put it
also
out
been
tomorrow
watching
or
videos from this techno. Sorry, I can't read
Techno
it.
Evangelist. Yes, he's.
Techno van.
I saw a survey last week, and he wasn't even ranked, so he must
He,
suck.
he, he was ranked.
Oh yeah, but not
Towards the
high
bottom of
enough
the
to
list.
actually be named.
Only got two. Was it 3 votes instead of 5 to get
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
long tail? Um,
bastards.
yeah, I was watching your videos pretty much all weekend long while coding. Unfortunately,
Good.
you gave Theo another try. He's all right, and watched a bunch of the Primogen as well. Who is? It feels like Eric Cartman reacting to Eric Cartman watching a video kind of thing. I realize that he can't possibly be like this all the time. But one of the ones that I watched, I think I recommended the Obama one last weekend, which is good. Definitely do watch it. The one that I watched was he and one of the cronies trying to make a Hello World app, but in a business setting in Java, and just starting out like, here are the business requirements. Okay, so this one line should print out Hello World. And their first question is, okay, do we need a return? Oh, should it be like a Windows style return or a Mac? We should have a selector or a switch case. It got in just this insanity of, let's use Chatty G, let's get into Chat Jippity and help it, and it becomes this enterprise code behemoth just to print Hello World. They make a translator, but of course, instead of it, I mean, it's probably an English audience, so let's have a Midwest translator and
Right.
maybe a Mideast.
Right.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. But
Yeah.
it does feel like as you're working through these apps, if you're not careful about files that you're creating, tests that you're creating, screenshots, that kind of stuff, your project will blow insanely quickly. Like it's wild how quickly you'll be creating files.
Yeah, and
you have to prune.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I tend to spend more time just using the kind of complete in the editor, and occasionally if I have a bigger problem, then I'll work with chat and have that added in. But a lot of the time I'm actually working with the code directly.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can say that tab completion's great. If you use proper comments, a lot of the times it will get started with your imports and stuff automatically, which is fantastic. It's really nice.
I found with just giving it a prompt, especially if you don't give it a lot of like, here is all the stuff I want you to do. If you just give like a simple prompt and then another simple prompt and another simple prompt, you'll end up with like 4 versions of the same function just being called from different, and they're all being called, but from different places. And it's like, well, which one's important? Well, they're all important because and they're all like misspelled by one letter.
Yeah, I've used an I variable. I've used a J variable. I've used a K variable. I was like, oh, shoot. We need 3 more. So let's element. Like, those are the same variables. Like, that's okay. I equals L. Like, no.
Stop.
Or for me, it was a DD API key. I think I've mentioned this before. That's definitely Datadog _ API key. And then you've got 4 versions of the same API key in 4 different places, and it's saying, it's failing because you didn't define it. So they make another file and define it again. Like, we've been over this. Please don't use this key.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Well,
but
in that latest video, it's actually another sponsored one, sponsored by Hostinger.
I did see Hostinger. Okay, I did see some N8N videos, which begrudgingly I also did watch because it feels like having a workflow system is important.
And so this one is actually an N8N install again. So I did an N8N install,
like a double sponsored video. Look out!
And so this one is another one, but I'm installing it on Hostinger, making it available via Caddy, and oh my god, I don't
Caddy.
when I'd when I had used I've usually used Traffic as a
Oh,
reverse proxy.
Trafic. Yep.
Um, Traffic. I mean, they pronounce it Traffic. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it's
Um,
Traffic. It's the one that's AE though, right?
AE,
Similar.
yeah, yeah. So they the last time I tried, Caddy was, I don't think it did it at the time when I was kind of trying to set it up for, oh, because I was trying to set up a wildcard certificate, and I don't think it
Right.
supported it at the time. Maybe it does now, but for just doing a single host and exposing that single host as a, on a different domain that you own, oh my
Mm.
God, it is so easy. I mean, the configuration is, I mean, you could really do it in one line.
I was expecting this to go the opposite way, which is why I've got the blank stare. It's easy. Okay, good.
It is
I'm liking this.
incredibly easy. So with
Because
Caddy, you
you'd
would,
be surprised at how difficult this is elsewhere, which is why
oh yeah,
I'm somewhat
yeah.
surprised.
I mean, Traffic, I have, there
It's
are
hard.
10 labels in
Yeah,
every Docker container,
it's
or
ridiculous.
yeah, it's terrible. But with Caddy, you are basically, if you just want a simple reverse proxy where something comes in on
Hmm.
mycoolhost.tvl.st, which is one of my domains, then reroute it to the container that is
Mm.
called this. And so in that case, I just do that host name I want it to respond to, open curly brace, reverse proxy, the name of the container, close curly brace, done.
JSON syntax? Yes.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it. Yeah, yeah. I don't
It's
know if
got to
there's
be.
a colon in there.
Okay.
I don't think there's a colon,
Interesting.
so it's not. And that's
Not
it.
that it matters.
And
I've been
that,
using a lot of TOML over the weekend in YAML, but yeah,
as long
interesting.
as, and that's even with nothing else, it
Right.
will go and talk to Let's Encrypt and grab the certificate, add
Oh.
SSL on there,
Oh.
and it just works perfect. It takes like
Oh.
a minute the first time to do that back and forth with Let's Encrypt. It is so cool.
How
So
does it do the DNS update?
it
Like
doesn't have to, because
I,
you have to add it yourself to
okay, that's fine.
for a single host.
I could
If
do
you're
that.
not,
Yeah.
if you're doing a wildcard, I don't know how that's done, but
Yep.
for a single host, you add it to. So I added it to Cloudflare, and I brought up this machine or this container, and then yeah, and that was it. It was just like
That's
so easy,
that's so easy.
and actually that wasn't actually pointing
This shouldn't
to.
even be a hard problem, but it is for
I
some
know.
reason. Yeah.
So that wasn't actually pointing to the NNN container. It was actually pointing to the NNN Tailscale container. So all my containers I'm
Oh,
adding to
cool.
Tailscale as well,
Yeah, yeah,
so that
yeah.
now N8N is on the Tailscale tailnet. And so
Network. Yeah.
therefore, a single, I can just say connect to Mat
Oh.
Infra because that's my laptop, and use the Olama on that local GPU.
Yeah. I
And so
like
now
that.
I'm connecting to that, or if my big machine is up and running, connect to that one. And
Oh.
there's no hard configuration. It's really,
Oh.
really easy.
You have not
Um,
seen the Ngrok stuff that I've seen. The horrors of multiple Ngrok servers
yeah.
talking to each other. It's awful.
So it is
Tailscale
so
does seem to
easy.
enable a lot of that. Yeah, that is fantastic.
And then I also added Watchtower. You know
Hmm.
about Watchtower?
I know of a Watchtower, the one from Red Hat, or a different one.
Container. It's like it got 4 R's in the name. Container.
No, I use Portainer for this,
Container.watchtower.
I think. Yeah,
So
very
it
cool.
will. You can set it up so that it runs. Like every. I have it set up to run at 4 a.m. every day,
Oh,
and it
this is
will
nice.
stop the container, pull the latest version, and restart it automatically for all your containers, or just the containers you want it to do, or everything except these. You can configure which ones you want it to do, and it's terrible for like a production environment because you really want to test first.
I think
But
that's
for a
their first line. It's
personal,
like, yeah, home lab use. Very
yeah,
cool.
it's
Wow.
fantastic. So
Huh.
those were added, and
You're
then
home labbing again.
next,
Look at that.
yeah.
I like
So
it.
so all these are in. I've got a GitHub repo. It's
Hmm.
technoevangelist /homelab. Um,
Very
And
cool.
I'm adding. And I think the next video we'll look at searching, and adding that, as well as Perplexica.
Mm.
And then have that accessible in N8N. And then some of the other ones I want to do are like connecting then Buddhabase or NoCoDB. So there's, build some front ends for your N8N setup really easily. And there were a few others I had planned.
I see this.
So
Updated yesterday.
yeah.
Very cool. We gotta get you new
Um,
photo for
and
your GitHub, I think.
yeah, I think that I don't know which one it is. Let's see.
A hat. It looks like it was taken in 1999 because the res is really low.
Yeah.
It's like it was fine at the time, but they've made the profile picture bigger and
Oh
bigger as
yeah.
time has
So
passed. Yeah.
that is the hat is actually a Microsoft hat.
Oh.
Um,
Oh.
and it is taken by the tour
You do look
guide.
like a Microsoft employee here. I'm so
the
sorry.
shirt
The fact that
looks
the
like
hat is crooked, I think, is what's really throwing me off. I'm so sorry.
the shirt I think normally is a light blue, but it's a dark blue because of the sweat on it.
Fair enough.
And it was taken by my tour guide who was driving the tuk-tuk that was driving around all the temples in Angkor Wat. So it's
Wow.
taken in Siem Reap in Cambodia.
No wonder
Although you
you're
can't really
sweaty.
tell that. Yeah, I mean it was
Humidity in
so
Asia
hot,
just kills you.
so hot.
So looking at this, my friend, it seems like you spent a week on this, mostly writing in Shell or entirely in Shell. Fantastic.
So HomeLab is
Well,
I
there's
don't know
only
about a
two
week.
files in here. That's why. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's just prep actually. Prep is your only code in here. The rest is YAML.
Yeah. So prep is really originally I was going to
Oh,
do.
you had a proper hash bang too? Oh, yeah, you do. Look at that.
Yeah.
Whew. Amazing.
So that I was originally going to walk the user through doing all the steps. I thought, well, let me just automate it because I know the host that they're going to be on is going to be a specific version, so I can make some assumptions, and yeah, that just sets it up, and then it's for Docker for the one of the neat things I did there was for the Tailscale stuff. You would normally put the Tailscale like a auth key either in the container or in the Docker Compose file or in an environment file. But then if you're doing it in the environment file, then you need to do that in every environment file for every container that you want to have. So with environment files, they need to be in the same directory as the Docker Compose file, but they can have a lot of information. Or with Docker Compose, you can use secrets, and secrets can be located anywhere on the host, but can only have one piece of information. And so for an auth key, that's great. I just set the auth key once, and now every time I spin up a new container, I can point to that secret. And I don't have to, get that secret again, which it makes it a little bit easier to keep everything in sync.
Okay, so I read through this, and there's some bits in here that are pretty bog standard. There's some other stuff in here that's fairly advanced. Did you write all this show? And
what stuff?
Well, okay. Sorry, folks. I realize this may be an audio experience for you, but on line 92 of the file that I'm looking at in Matt's repo here, we've got if square bracket minus x ZSH bin. I know what this does, and then square bracket. And
so that is something I have used a bunch before.
Truthiness in Bash. Yeah. Did it return is what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Was it
and
0
so
or 1?
and ZSH bin is the binary for CSH. And
that's a good one. There's one
up.
more in here. And it's not like Delve, but we're almost at Delve area here. Line 111, just because there's no other functions in the script, I thought kind of stuck out to me.
So
did you write this one, or somebody else?
I did not. I had ChatGPT. I had not ChatGPT. I had Claude, I think.
Normally I would write function just for me, and I also know that you don't need to use the parameter sign because they're empty, but like a lot of times you will just because of convention, because you're used to doing it elsewhere, which is why it stuck out to me, because I've got a way of
and I certainly cannot do regex like that.
Yes, that was
even though it's simple.
Yeah, so that
Um,
that grep isn't too bad, but yes,
yeah.
I have noticed. You know how they're saying kids maybe they can't drive now, they can't parallel park because they've got a camera that helps them, and then when
Hmm.
they go to drive
Hmm.
another car, they can't do it, kind of thing. I have noticed that there are some skills that seem to be atrophying, and
Hmm.
my regex skills are shot. My
Hmm.
grok skills may also be going, and these are two things that I prided myself in knowing. I can't remember what a greedy blob
Yeah.
is. I got it busted the other day, just like trying to do word selection. I think it's W, and I was using star dot instead. My regex is lost.
There are some parts of this that are written by me, and then some parts that are not.
The rest of it's completely
So
usable. I don't think you would have
yeah.
used the emoji to say that you're done.
No, no. I mean, that was goofy.
I have noticed that in a lot of generated codes, like the test values will be in emojis. Totally
Hmm.
okay. It's just that if I'm writing a script to scrape that test value, I don't want to
Hmm.
handle emojis, so I wouldn't put them in there,
Right.
which is how I know it was written by
Yeah.
somebody else.
So
This is cool. Right on.
yeah, and so it takes care of like creating a new user called whatever you want to call it. I called it Matt
Yeah.
W or Matt or something like that,
Now the only
and
my
sets
only
everything correctly.
I think you might want EUOX. I think is the one X because it doesn't print to the command line if it's done something such as when you're
Oh,
typing
okay.
in the password in here if there's a problem. I don't think you
Hmm.
want to echo out the password if there's a problem. I think that's the only thing in
Right.
here.
Okay.
The safety part at the top, was that
Yeah.
yours? It seems verbose and
No,
good.
that was a Claude thing.
Yeah, I would steal that for all your bash
Yeah.
stuff. And listen, I don't write a lot of code, but I've certainly written some
Yeah.
bash.
Yeah.
But that
And
top part is actually fantastic.
I
And I
tend
don't see it
not
a
to
lot.
use shell because this is actually just a. Oh no, it's a bash script.
Yeah.
I tend to actually write things. If I'm going to write thing for a shell, it's going to be in fish, and
Oh,
so
in
it's going to
fish.
be a a little bit different.
I
Um,
really don't like the way ZSH or ZSH handles arrays in particular. So
mm,
I maybe I will look at fish as an
yeah,
example. Corn shell, bash shell, those are kind of the ones that I've used over the years. I
right.
these days might write stuff in Python, and I gotta say, having written, I don't know, quote unquote, written 50 shell test
Hmm.
scripts in JS, Node
Hmm.
and JS is fairly handy on the command line. If you need to
Yeah,
do anything
yeah.
kind of jQuery JSON like, it's actually very powerful because to get to there in
And
Python, you can do it, but
and
it's so
for
much
that
easier.
type of stuff, I mean, doing it in Dino is great because
Oh, okay. It's
then you
fast, right?
compile it,
Ah,
for the platform, and you can have a GitHub repo with an action that automatically
oh,
compiles. And I have AI build out the action to
ah,
build the executable in for Mac, Apple Silicon, Mac without Apple
ah.
Silicon, Intel or sorry Windows and Linux. And that way people can just download their executable and that's it. They don't need to have Dino installed at all or npm or anything, and it just runs.
Guys, I'm going to say this. Please don't record it, but sometimes Matt gives me advice, and I kind of ignore him for 1 or 2 years. This feels like one of those things. The more I use Dino, the more impressed I am by it.
Yeah.
On it's so fast,
It,
so fast.
yeah. I felt like I that was the promise of Bun, and for it just the compiling to different platforms. They more recently added it and made it better, but
Mhm.
it still breaks more often than not. And so I just gave up on it and I
Yeah,
just use Dino now.
breaking your build is one of those things that I'd forgotten that I hate. I mean, I had to
Yeah.
do it in Astro too, but an Astro build is it's not really a build. It's kind of
Yeah.
like I mean, it is build, but it's not the same as a Dino or a Bun build or something
Hmm.
like that. I also have struggled pretty hard, in fact, to get Bun to build stuff that looks totally reasonable to me, but
Yeah.
just a quick quirk here or there can throw it off, especially if you're doing inline other languages. And I think
Mm.
my problem specifically in some of those cases was SQL trying to
Hmm.
learn. I think it was SQLite I was using, but yeah, I've certainly broken things due to improper escaping or doing
Yeah.
just weird stuff or double escaping. Yeah.
So
But
if you, I'm actually
yep.
not showing. I should show what I'm actually talking about.
Yeah, I
Let's
forgot we
see.
could screen share. We could have showed you shown your amazing repo that takes
Yeah.
passwords in from the command line, which I would suggest
Yeah.
not doing. But otherwise,
Let's see.
I
What happens
zero
if I do
complaints.
this?
It's pretty good.
And then uh, that. Oh,
Whew,
that's not.
Spartan. Look at this.
That's not what I want.
Matt's favorite
That,
code editor.
What is going on?
I used to make fellow developers cringe at Samsung editing code in this Spartan code editor. Just I would go in and make changes in the web, and they weren't fans of it. But
Well, I can't figure out how to
you can't make
get
this
that to
bigger.
work.
Oh
No.
well.
So I'm gonna go back to. So we're looking at my repo,
Home Lab.
Technoevangelist / Home Lab, and if you go into
Mhm.
N8N and then the Docker Compose file,
Mhm.
you can see that there's this N8N, and then there's N8N on Hostinger. I just shortened that a little bit,
Gotcha.
and that is the Tailscale, and that's the name that's going to show up in your Tailscale machine list, and that now because I'm using the secret, um, I can I can just copy this and use it for any container, changing N8N on Hostinger to Michael service on Hostinger, or whatever I want to call it. And then the way that the N8N connects to it is network mode service, and then the name of the container that is the Tailscale container. And then change the port, and that's it. And then it just works uh, for anything.
What
And
does
then
it
that's
use
going to be
the
on Tailscale.
What does it use netadmin for? Net_admin there. Was it
Oh,
2029
I have no idea.
capabilities? I think.
I have no
Oh,
idea.
okay. I think generally that's so it can change or read from the host network. For Tailscale, I
Hmm.
think it would make sense. For
Yeah.
N8N, I was wondering.
Oh,
Interesting.
yeah. That's
Okay.
totally for Tailscale.
Oh, gotcha. Is it
Yeah.
running both in the same container?
Not in the same
'Cause
container as it's a one Docker Compose file, so those are two separate containers.
yeah, I'm not sure if it needs those capabilities. I would assume N8N
Yeah, I
hosting.
don't know. So
Anyway,
N8N doesn't, but
this is like
Tailscale does.
a pull review that I got on one of my
Yeah.
Docker containers at work, adding too many capabilities to it.
And
I
then
used
so
to. Yeah, go ahead.
so now, so the later part of the video shows, okay, now you've got your N8N set up, you've got
Hmm.
set up in Caddy and Watchtower. Now
Yep.
let's create a just a simple MCP server that will do a calculator. You know, that's the standard kind of Hello World for most MCP stuff, and
Hmm.
then consume that in Windsurf.
Very cool.
So Windsurf will let you connect MCPs, and Windsurf and Cursor will allow you to connect MCPs that are either standard IO or SSE, server side
Right.
events.
Hmm.
But Windsurf does not let you do authentication on the SSE, so you have to be wide open.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's like super connector, super machine, something like that, and there's also MCP proxy, which and both of those do the same thing. They basically create a proxy to the SSE with authentication, but expose it on standard IO. And so in Windsurf, you can set that up, and um, and then you'd be able to, so it goes through standard IO, which goes to SSE, which goes up to my N8N. And so that's the way I did it in there in that video.
That's cool.
But
Is it
because
MCP proxy mono repo? Is that the right one? Does that sound right? Different one?
I think it was just called MCP proxy.
Okay, I'll look it up.
MCP,
I am on the
MCP
MCP
dash
train.
proxy.
Sequential thinking is what really
Sparfenuk.
Sparfinic, definitely a different one.
Sparfenuk. MCP proxy is the
Sparfinic.
one I use, and it's the other one, whatever it's called. Super. It's in a lot of demos, a lot of videos. Uh, super something. I just found MCP proxy just so much easier to work with, but because N8N has native support for MCP, um, you can very easily create whatever workflow you're going to do and have MCPs used in those workflows some really interesting ways. So I'm kind of for a lot of things MCP doesn't
Yeah,
always seem like the best idea.
I'd rather use an API, especially when we're talking
Yeah,
auth.
yeah,
I'd rather use an
yeah,
API, jot something, but for things that aren't, it's fine. One of the things that I
yeah.
worried about Context 7 was in terms of what you're sending to it, and maybe it's just because it was
Mm,
in the name, but if I'm sending this entire context for this TFR file that I
yeah,
happen to be editing, and there's a key in this file,
yeah,
am I sending it off to the MCP host, which
yeah.
is where I feel like a user agreement, like the NDA, like
Right.
something
Right.
needs to be in place for me to be able to use something that I could be sending sensitive data to. However,
Yep.
if it's just something like a query in the Astro Docs, it's probably okay. If it's a tail scale operation as opposed to
Hmm.
your IP address, your password,
Right.
those
Right.
that scale or scope of things, I think is all
Yep.
right. Very cool. I'm loving
Yeah.
the MCB. So sequential
Yeah.
thinking was the one that really kind of
Mm.
it turned my brain
Hmm.
into, oh yeah, we can make this kind of like Aider or Klein
Right.
or Claude
Right.
Code or Codex, I guess, and go through a list of things before we get a solution, as well
Yep.
as being able to give it quote unquote vision to be able to
Yep.
look at the website,
Hmm.
get the results, take a screenshot using
Right.
Playwright or Puppeteer was phenomenal. The combination of these
Yeah.
two tools really
Yeah.
had me cooking. Just fantastic.
Cool.
Listen, we almost went over time, but did you have anything to check out? All I did was look at Apple TV, and I didn't watch any TV the entire week. I
Oh.
swear. I've watched
Yeah.
so much. The Theo, listen, I guess my recommendation might be T3 Theo. He's worth a watch.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the opinion. The hairstyle still rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
They both have mustaches, which I'm not a fan of, but whatever.
No.
Kids be kidding. A good, generally unbiased approach to most things aside from browsers, but I think we've
Yeah.
discussed this before. I don't understand the hate for the
Yeah.
Arc browser, but here we are.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
ladybirds
that
know
said,
better, so
I've generally switched over to Zen as well.
enough.
I don't have
Yeah.
it on this machine, but I just started using. Oh God, what's it called?
Some random piece of
Bring up
software.
my MacBook
Oh,
Pro. And
what do you
is
have
this
in that
called?
MacBook Pro? It looked quite heavy. It's a chunky MacBook Pro. It's full of RAM.
This is my
Yeah, I saw you lifting.
it's a M1 Max with 64
Oh,
gigs and
the
4
Max.
terabytes disk.
Yeah, it's the copper in there, I think, on the Max. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
So there's a plugin or a tool. I don't know. What is this called? It's called, I think, LeaderKey.
Okay.
LeaderKey Mac.
Yeah, Nicholas,
From
you're asking the
Micker.
philosophy question. I would as well. Sorry, go ahead. From whom?
From it's on GitHub. Micker, MIKKER /LeaderKey.app. So this is basically a leader key, but I have it set to be, if I press the semicolon and the single quote at the same time. So those two keys, which are kind of on the home row, I just move my fingers over one and tap with these two fingers, these two fingers. Then it brings up a little menu, on screen, and then you can have whatever you want in that menu. So I have I tap that B for browser and then Z for Zen, or BA for Arc.
Now, where is your Raycast, Matt? Maybe I'm misunderstanding something.
Oh, I use Raycast as well. I just find it.
Okay.
I just find for some things it's just faster.
Raycast is pretty fast, but I agree on older systems.
But
it's
having like if I do that leader key and then I don't think I've turned it on. I have so leader key O goes into Obsidian. Leader key C goes into Ghosty.
Okay. C starts with Ghosty starts with C. Yeah, totally makes sense. Yep. Console.
CLI console. I think is what
command line.
Because I had always done Command Option Control Shift. So pressing which I have mapped to caps lock. If I hold caps lock, if I tap caps lock, it's a escape. If I hold caps lock, it's a Command Option Control Shift. So caps lock C,
totally reasonable to a fellow
caps lock C opens up the kind of quick window blind kind of terminal.
Nice, I like that. I
so
think it's called Doom style, right? I think is what that's called when it pulls down from the top of the screen. I think they call that Doom style.
It was window blinds I think on.
I remember Stardock. Don't listen.
Yeah, on Windows
don't
window
blinds. Me with the past.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
I think though. I'm trying to remember it's Hyperterm or something
Stardock,
like that. Yeah, started off window blinds. Like literally, I
Yeah,
was there.
yeah. Oh yeah, that was
I
it.
think
Yeah,
I think it's called Doom mode though. And what that call it, and you use
yeah,
tilde to bring it up for
yeah,
some other terminals. Yeah. Uh, what are you gonna do? I'm still
yeah.
using Alacrity. I
Oh,
feel
okay.
like Alacrity is
Yeah,
my terminal of choice, and
yeah.
people are talking about Ghosty, and it looks pretty cool, but I can't switch.
It's
Coworker
I.
uses Warp. I don't know if you used Warp.
I mean, I
No.
did. I've I termed two version three. Is I still think I think the better thing. Um,
It's got
Ghosty
it's got this
Ghosty
section
keeps running
highlighter
into
thing now.
problems.
Yeah. Have you seen the
It's
new section highlighter in iTerm? I really don't like it. When you
no.
click in the terminal and it
Oh
highlights a
yeah,
section of
that I think
really
that
not. I
was
know you can
the.
turn it off.
I think that might have been the thing that made me. It's like fine, I'm done with that.
It's just a default, and I think.
Yeah,
Listen, we're way over time at this point in time, but maybe I could put the soapbox, bring the soapbox out some other episode. But the rational defaults are important for me,
yeah, yeah.
and iTerm seems to have strayed just a little bit from what I prefer.
For the window blind mode or whatever in
Mhm.
Ghosty, it often fails. I mean, it's just totally broken.
Hmm.
But other, and then I hate the fact that with Ghosty, I have to for some hosts I will have to add my uh, the tick term info stuff manually to because Ghosty is such a new thing, it doesn't know about it.
Yeah, when I think it was Kitty first came out, I had to do the
Hmm.
same, like give it the Xterm colors thing
Yeah,
just to get
yeah,
Midnight Commander working, which is a tool I
yeah.
use unfortunately still
Like for
a lot.
HTOP won't work unless you have these things turned
Exactly.
on.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it'll work, but good luck
Well, it
using
just
it.
won't
It'll look
work.
awful. At
It won't
all,
work.
at all. Oh shoot,
Yeah.
that's some like yeah, you've lost the default. Is it's
Yeah.
POSIX C
Mm,
and bindings or something like that? I think is what it should default to.
yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
Well, the
Uh,
other thing, we just started watching the new season of Andor.
oh yes, I've heard this is quite good. Is it good?
No,
Okay, yeah. So I thought
it
when I
is.
see a lot of people liking things, I'm sorry to be that pessimist, but it's like, is this for the lowest common denominator? Is
It
this
is.
bad?
The first season was so amazing, so
Right,
perfect.
right.
Everything was like perfect, and this new season, we're like on episode four. It still is like slow. Not it's like we're why are we there's nothing going on. It is an exercise in boredom.
I hate that. That
And
sounds
I
like
keep
Severance
waiting.
season 2.
It's going to be amazing.
No, it won't.
There's not many episodes left, but it's going to be amazing, and we keep watching it because Andor for
Spoiler
season one
alert,
was
and
great.
I haven't seen it, but I watch a lot of Linus Tech Tips just to watch like daily news kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, just because I want to stay away from politics. So I've been watching tech news. Did mention that he cried, I believe, at the end. So there may be some emotional. Who knows? Maybe
Wow.
they're a
Okay.
larger Star Wars fan than I am,
He
but
cried because he was so sad that he spent so much time and it
so bad.
never
That's so
improved.
much. Yeah, so much of my life is lost. I'm getting older. I won't be able to claw this back. Nicholas, we're sliding right into that philosophical mode. Our jobs
Yeah.
have all been outsourced. Yes, agents are taking
Yeah.
over our livelihood and what we like. And yeah, I cried at Andor.
Yeah. Um, and then I don't have anything purchased, but we are thinking about a purchase.
Oh, what are you purchasing? A Rivian?
I no. Oh yeah, I'd like one.
Sorry, everyone's anti-Tesla right now, so Rivian seems to be making sales. I see them all over my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. I've been seeing them for, I guess, one of the first ones like
It feels
off
like
the line
January.
came like, huh?
At least in Vancouver, it
Yeah.
feels like January is when
Three,
I started
three or
seeing
four
them.
years ago, when the first ones came off the line, one of my neighbors had one, and
Of course, yeah, you're in
yeah,
Bainbridge.
yeah,
There are
like just
songs
like one
written
of the
about
first
you.
ones. Yeah, there's four Cybertrucks around me.
There was a Bainbridge song written about tech bros. I think the other day that I just randomly came across, and I thought it was
Really?
pretty funny. Yeah, I'll try to find it and read
Okay.
it for you. And I was like, this
Um,
has to be about Bainbridge Island. It can't be about anything else. There's no way.
um, the we're looking at either, and maybe you have opinion. I don't know if you have opinions.
Mhm.
A digital piano. So
Okay,
the
I've
idea
purchased one.
of
Yep.
getting we can totally do a MIDI keyboard hooked up to a computer, but just something that's easy. It's already
Yep.
set up, nothing to plug in. It
Mhm.
looks like a piece of furniture,
They
looks
can
like
do
a
both.
piano. Huh?
Having
Yeah,
purchased
sure.
one, they can
It
do
could be
both.
a
They can do
MIDI.
MIDI.
Yeah.
Yeah, can have weighted
Yep.
keys and be
Yep.
electronic.
Yep.
Yep.
So we're either looking at the Yamaha CLP 835,
That's what we bought.
um, the 835.
Not that model, but yes. And it looked like
Okay.
furniture made out of wood. It
Yeah.
was phenomenal. We had it for 10 years.
Okay.
Fantastic. What a dog chewed through, like didn't break the leg, but chewed
Yeah.
on. Sorry, one of the
Yeah.
legs.
Either
Was made in
that
fact out
or
of wood. The dog seemed to enjoy it.
yeah,
Yeah.
or the comparable same price one from Roland HP
I
704.
Roland's probably
Um,
better on the tech side, but when it comes to weighted keys, and I'm not a piano player. My
right.
partner was when they were younger.
Right.
Said that the weighted keys on the Yamaha were second to none out of all
Right.
of what we
Yeah.
tried.
Yeah.
Just felt like a real piano, is what she said,
Right.
which I think is probably pretty
Yeah.
important. And what we did notice is, depending on the price, the keys can feel like pretty bad. Actually, they
Hmm.
may look normal, but
Right.
feel
Right.
wrong. Again, I'm used to like synths and stuff like that, so the
Yeah.
light keys are fine for me. But if you want that weight and you
Right.
need
Yeah.
sustain pedals, that's a certain
Yep.
class of keyboard,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So it has the three sustain pedals and the nice looking cat. I mean, these are $3,000 pianos.
That's about what I
So
paid.
yeah.
Full disclosure. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm not rolling in money, but this is
Yeah.
somebody's. I will
It
send that
should
on a
be
computer,
we,
so it's hard to
we
argue.
felt like, do we want, I mean, the people that owned this house before, they had a grand piano, like a big
Oh,
grand
nice,
piano, and it was gorgeous. um,
nice.
at some point it would be great to have something like that, but I
Even a
feel
baby
like
grand, I'm not gonna
it's
argue.
crazy.
Or a
Yeah, I mean,
stand up,
they're
yeah.
expensive, and
Yes.
I don't have, because I haven't played in years, like
Right.
30 years, 40 years. I wouldn't be qualified to purchase something, and Tony feels the same way. It's been
And they
ages
need to
since
be
we
tuned
learned.
and serviced, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the digital piano, even like the baby grand digital piano, those look pretty cool. But yeah, so we're
So we
investigating.
get the smaller stand up version, so not the
Yep.
one that has full height back, because there's no
Yep.
need to it when it's digital. But it's got a little
Yeah.
sheet music holder.
Yep.
It had I think headphone out and MIDI out,
Hmm.
and that is it in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah, and these all now have Bluetooth, and so they'll hook up to your
oh,
phone, and
interesting.
Bluetooth, MIDI Bluetooth as well. So
And MIDI Bluetooth is
um,
not that great. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Sorry.
uh, yeah, so good
It can
enough.
yes, it's probably more than enough for like a
Yeah.
child playing with it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For beats, I found it incredibly frustrating using like
Oh,
a
okay.
Kai MPC over Bluetooth,
Yeah.
where the
Yeah.
timing is very important.
Right.
It
Right.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, I
Hmm.
mean, listen.
Yeah.
But yeah, Apple iPad can use Bluetooth, and you can put sheet
Yep.
music on your iPad
Yes.
and play along
Yeah.
with the sheet music, and it will tell you if you're missing
Right.
notes. Now,
Right.
as long as the connection is okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
you should be good to do. I think you can
Yeah.
plug some of them in via USB, which is what
Yep.
I eventually did as well with the little
Right.
adapter. But being able to see sheet
Yeah.
music and kind of rewind with a tutor is a pretty big
Right.
deal.
Right. Yeah. So that's probably in our near term future.
I like it. Yeah, please start creating music so that the AI overlords
Yeah.
don't take over all of music creation.
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right. Well,
All right.
I
So
think that was a lot. Yeah,
did you have anything?
I
You said
mean,
you just didn't do it. Yeah, you were.
I mean, you go
Yeah.
out and buy Windsurf. It sounds like before OpenAI does
Yeah.
whatever they do and rolls it into the product. But I'm
Yeah.
loving it. I can't recommend it more. I guess the recommendation for me was sequential thinking MCP. That's
Right.
by default and a little menu in Windsurf, because Cursor doesn't
Right.
have a menu for MCPs anymore. Don't know why. But
Hmm.
it's got 9 MCPs that they suggest. I think Neon was in there, Mongo was in there, and I can't touch either of those. No
Hmm.
offense to
Yeah.
there's these cool databases.
Right.
But I did get a lot of usage out of Playwright, Puppeteer, and especially
Yep.
sequential thinking was a major
Cool.
leg up.
Nice.
All right. Shall
Alrighty.
we find the end stream button?
I think we should find it. Ready? 1, 2, 3.